Hey everyone, Dave with Blue Bears Games here again with another edition of $20 budget decks for Magic. Today's deck, Fungus Among Us. This deck is actually a pet project of mine. Since the days of old, and I'm talking like Homelands and Fallen Empires, we've had Fungus, okay? And since that day, I've wanted to see if it was possible, and it never was. However, that all changed with Dominaria. So, now we have it. After 20 plus years of waiting, I've got the deck. I've actually made this deck before and sold it and was asked for another one. So, let's go over this one. This one's a fun one. Essentially, it's literally a tribal deck. It is just a tribal deck. However, it's one of the more fun ones. It's kind of like having squirrels on the field. It's just something different. This one, it's fungus. So, like I said back in Fallen Empires, I wanted to use Thalids in a deck. They were never really viable. They do a lot, but they just weren't big enough. They weren't strong enough. They just couldn't do enough. But that has all changed thanks to Dominaria. So, for those of you that don't know what a Thalid is, and you should, it's a 1-1 for 1 that you put a spore counter on, and then you remove 3 spore counters to put a 1-1 Thalid in. Or actually, it's a sapling, but whatever. So, I put 4 of those in. Here's one of the reasons. This is only one of the reasons why this deck is possible. It's a tribal deck. Every tribe needs a lord. Spore Crown Thalid was finally put out to us. It gives all other creatures you control that are a fungus or a sapling +1/+1. So, these put out, remember Thalids, it's a fungus and it puts out saplings. So, this buffs all of them. So we've got 2 of those in there. Jade Mage. 2 to cast 2/1. It's actually not a bad casting cost for what it does. It puts 1/1 green sapling tokens onto the battlefield. Yes, this deck is quintessentially just a big token deck, but with no actual tokens to be had other than the ones that are created from the creatures. Normally in a token deck you have instants or sorceries that create tokens. This deck actually has the creatures do it. So I went ahead and put 2 of those in there just to start throwing some more out there. Death Bloom Thalid, when it dies, it's a 3/2 for 3, so that's okay. I mean, it's good power and toughness. The point of this guy is to to block something bigger on the other opponent's side, and then when it dies, put another sapling into play. So I put 2 of those in there. Yavimaya Shepherd, when it comes into play. So for 3, you get a 2/2 and a 1/1. So basically it's a 3 to cast 3 power. So I put them in there. I think I put 4 of them. No, I only put 2. Okay. From Modern Masters way back in the day, they reprinted a lot of Thalids and funguses. So I went ahead and did that. So, Thalid Germinator. It's at the beginning of your upkeep, put a counter on it. Remove 3 just like on a Thalid and put a 1/1 into play. But this one has the ability of sacrificing one of those saplings and target creature gets +1/+1. It's good combat tricks. Another from Modern Masters. Spore, originally I believe it was from Time Spiral, but these are Modern Masters versions. So, at the Spore Sower Thalid. At the beginning of upkeep, you put a counter on each fungus you control. Now that's important. Remember, they're already putting one on themselves as it is. So, with one of these in play, technically you're getting 2 for each one that does it already. So, with that, if you had a second Spore Sower Thalid out, essentially every turn you could create a 1/1 for each thing that actually puts a Spore counter on itself. So for each Thalid, you're putting out another one. Pretty good, actually, in my book. Now, not only that, but it's also a 4 to cast 4/4. And it itself also removes Spore counters to create 1/1s. So it's, again, if you have 2 of these out by themselves, every turn you're putting out 2 additional 1/1s. So not too bad. Thalid Soothsayers, because, well, black doesn't have a lot of problems drawing cards, but green does. So, sacrificing a creature, you have so many tokens coming out. Sacrificing a couple to draw a card, not that bad. Also, it's a 2/3, so it has a big enough butt that it can survive some things. Alright. Resume Lurker. 4 to cast 2/2 with Undergrowth, and it enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it, equal to the number of creature cards in your graveyard. I'm pretty sure a lot of your regular creatures are going to die during the battle, so this can come in as a 4 to cast 4/4, just like the other one. Sporoloth Ancient. At the beginning of your upkeep, you put a spore counter on them, just like the rest. It's 5 to cast 4/4. However, the ability of creatures you control have removed only 2 spore counters from this creature and put a 1/1. Now, the reason why that's important is it's not for the Thales, it's for your other counters. Because it says creatures you control have it. So even your tokens that you're creating, this is what actually fuels the deck to make 1,000,000 tokens. So, say you have sapling tokens, 3 of them out. You put this out. If you have a Spore Sower or Thalet out, now you've got the ability for them to not only gain the spore counters, but to remove them to create more and more. So it's just a revolving door of making Thalet tokens, or not Thalets. What are they? They're sapling tokens. Sapling Migration. I actually liked this card when I saw it spoiled. You know, it is a token generator in the sense of it's a token deck staple. It's like any of the other cards I usually use for my token decks. However, this one I kind of liked because it initially creates 2, and then you can kick it for 4. So, even more token goodness. Fungal Plots. Exile a creature card from your graveyard and create yet another token. However, it's the sacrifice 2 saplings to gain 2 life and draw a card that I have this in here for. Yeah, it's nice to create more tokens with the enchantment part of it. The 2 mana cost exiling a creature, but really I only want it for the drawing capability. It's like in case the Soothsayer is not in play, you at least gain 2 life off this one, and you still get the card. So I got a pair of those in there. Spore Swarm, more token generation, creates 3 for 4. Not bad casting cost, it's 3 power for 4. Now the finisher. I like Overrun. I use it in a lot of decks, Stompy decks, Beast decks, every deck, Elfdrazi decks. I use it in everything. Why? Because it works. There's a reason why Garrick, the original Garrick, has basically Overrun as his ultimate, because it works. +3/+3 and Trample. You got a lot of tokens. Those tokens are going to run over everybody. Now, the other reason why this deck is possible. When this card got spoiled, I giggled like a schoolgirl. I sat there in glee and smiled all the way to I'm making this deck. This card, whenever a sapling you control dies, it deals 1 damage to each opponent, and you gain a life. Good on its own, but there's more. But wait, there's more. Then, for 4, you can create sapling tokens to do all your biddings. I think this may be one of my favorite cards ever printed in Magic, just because it does something I've been wanting to do for so long. Make sapling viable. So, I got 2 of those in there. Now, normally I don't like to throw Bone Splinters into a deck. I don't like having to sacrifice my own creatures to destroy theirs. However, in this deck, at will. Fire at will. There are so many tokens being created that I don't care. So I actually had a use for Bone Splinters. It's 1 to cast. It gets rid of anything on the other side that you want. So that's an auto-include of 4 in a token deck. Now for the rares. Sapling Cluster. Discard a card from your hand, put a 1/1 sap into play. Any player may do this. Sure, your opponent may get a couple out of it. This is for later in the game when you're drawing lands and you don't need them. You just ditch them. You bin them for a couple of sapling tokens. Why not? Evolutionary Leap. This one was more of my tech for this deck because you have so many creatures coming in and out. Sacrifice a creature, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card, put it into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So, sacrifice basically a sapling token to hope to get Slimefoot. Works for me. Verdant Force, yes, expensive. You're going to have enough board clogging here that you don't have to worry about how long it's going to take. This was more along the lines of it fit the theme of the deck's inclusion at the beginning of each upkeep. Remember, though, this does say at the beginning of each upkeep. If you're, for some reason, playing non-commander multiplayer Magic, and you've got 3 opponents, which we used to do way back in the day before Commander was a thing, guys. I know, it sounds weird, 60-card deck Magic for multiplayer, but it worked. At the beginning of each upkeep, not just yours, you get a Saproling token. So, and it's also a 7/7, so why not? And for the special card in Garrick's Wake, I use these a lot just because it helps wipe the board on your opponent's side. You kind of need that control. It also takes care of pesky planeswalkers. This deck can use a lot of upgrading in some aspects, the rares specifically. I did go and search and found I was not playing when Time Spiral came out. I had quit playing for a little bit, and technically I got married, and they didn't really like. She didn't really like Magic, so I didn't really play it during that time period. But apparently, there's a couple of new funguses in that area, or in that time period, that were not put in Modern Masters that I should take a look at. But one of my rules for making these decks is I don't go buy cards just for the decks. I make them for what I have. So, and Garrick's Wake goes in because of that. You can upgrade this to put in some more Slime Foots. You can do some more Evolutionary Leaps. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do to upgrade this deck. Alright, to the lands. We're playing black-green. Play set of Golgari Gilgates. I'll always have dual lands. And then, obviously, my natural fetch lands, my faux fetch lands is what I call them, my Evolving Wilds. So, that is my interpretation of Fungus Among Us. I've been wanting to build this deck for many years. They just didn't put out enough good fungus or saprolings or anything that went with the deck to go with it. So I wasn't able to do it until recently. So, there's that. Now, if you have any questions or comments or concerns, go ahead and do so below. Like us on Facebook, it's Blue Bears Games. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up. It's always appreciated. And please, on your social medias, on your Facebook pages, your Twitters, go ahead and share us. I will not be opposed. Absolutely not. And also subscribe to this channel. I've told you before, I have many, many more decks to go over. I'm going to be doing some unboxings later on this week. I believe Throne of Eldraine is going to be on my doorstep tomorrow or the next. So I will be doing that. So, anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I thank you for watching.